So the idea that we're going to explore, or what we're going to do, is use one Kontakt instrument to drive all of these different tracks / instruments. And it's a rather important thing to do, mostly because Kontakt can be a big drag on your computer CPU, and we're about to use it quite a bit. So, straightforward. I'm going to insert Kontakt stereo on the first track, which is drums. I am going to load up Studio Drummer and double click on the session full kit. All right, and that's about it. It's not really much more than that. All right, I have a drum beat. Now, bass. I'm not going to insert anything on the bass track. What I am going to pay attention to is in the instrument column here. When I inserted Kontakt, what came up was Kontakt MIDI in 1, channel 1. This is called the MIDI output selector. And what it's doing is it is telling this data to communicate on channel 1, MIDI channel 1 of this Kontakt instrument, which is Kontakt 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit the minus sign here just to minimize. This is not hiding the instrument, or I should say it's not deleting it. It is simply hiding the instrument. I'm going to now go in and see bass. I'm going to head to the Rickenbacker bass, and I'm going to choose the palm muted. And because this one's minimized, this one comes up minimized. So I'm going to click on this plus sign. I don't see the information that I need here, so I am going to click on this I button, which is the international symbol for information if you're ever traveling abroad. And I can see that this instrument is communicating on MIDI channel 2, and it is using output 1. Let's go back to this for a second. We are going to pay attention to both of these lines. Output 1, MIDI channel 1. Output 2, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that we're going to change this to output number 2. Okay? Now, hopefully at this point, we know that this track is still grayed out, this MIDI data. It has nothing to communicate with. We should be able to say, hey, there's no instrument, therefore it doesn't know what it's talking to. If we come over to the MIDI output selector, we see Kontakt MIDI in 1. And remember over here, this instrument wants to communicate on channel 2. So if we go ahead and change this to channel 2, we now have a connection. If we hadn't changed output 1 to output 2, we have that bass sound, but it's coming out combined with the drums, and we wouldn't be able to change its volume. Not entirely true. We could come make adjustments here, but that's not how we want to work. So I changed this to MIDI channel 2, output 2. And I can't hear it. Well, I haven't told my track yet to look for that output. So this should be familiar from how we route the multiple outputs in Battery. No input, plug-in, Kontakt 2. Okay, we're going to continue down this line. And I'm going to go ahead and put in strummed acoustic for the guitar. I'm going to open it up. I don't see what I need to see, so I hit info. I'm going to leave MIDI channel 3. I'm going to change this to output 3. I am going to change the the MIDI output selector, and I'm going to change the input to plug-in Kontakt 3. All right, so much quicker. I'm going to change this to be Campfire 1. Fourth instrument, I'm going to insert. Oh, what am I going to insert? Actually, I'm not inserting anything technically. What am I going to choose? I am going to choose Retro Machines. I'm at the top level, so all I see is folders. And I think I am going to go into the Super JP. I'm going to choose a pad. This could be bad news. All right, well, this one does show me right out of the gate what I need to see. I'm going to keep this sequential and change my output to 4. Change my MIDI output selector to 4. Change my input to 4. Let's listen in solo. Not what I was hoping for, but that's okay. This isn't about what it sounds like at all. So I'll try one last one. Actually, I'm okay with that for the moment, just if I have to hear it over and over again. All right, and the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert. I'm going to minimize. I'm going to insert Electric Mint Melody. And I'm going to open it up. MIDI channel 5, or I should say output 5, because MIDI channel was already chosen. Oh, and look what happens here. This doesn't like to go out MIDI 5, but we're going to see what happens. This will not happen with, let's see. Okay, that worked fine. So even though it says stereo 3, it is going strictly to stereo 5. All right, so what's really, really important to understand here is this should look similar to your drum kit coming out of battery, where this first is, your kick drum, your snare drum, your hi-hat, your clap, what have you. The only thing that's changing is that we've added the MIDI output selector and the MIDI channel that this data is communicating on. If I were to draw a line, the drums are communicating with session drummer. The bass is communicating with the Rickenbacker, the guitar, strummed acoustic, etc., etc. That's super important. And then on the output side, we still are sending these to direct outs so that we could control their volume and mix and process. All right, step 1.